Uh-oh. Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of Antares Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're going to get into this Ascendant. We're going to talk about planets in the first house. Now, I just wanted to break this down because when we talk about the Ascendant, your rising, we're talking about it as being your personality. You know what I'm saying? Your characteristics. You know what I'm saying? Your gestures. The way you are when you're not acting or reacting to things. AKA using your sun or your moon. Or when you're not, or when you're trying to sit back, the way you look when you thinking about things and communicating. See, when you're thinking about it and communicating, that's your Mercury. But the way you look, and you see what I'm doing? Y'all see how I'm very expressive and shit? I'm going to tell you, I'm a Leo rising. So everything I say, in some type of way, I'm trying to express that through body language and, you know what I'm saying, center stageness and, you know what I'm saying, energy and being upbeat and into the spirit. That's Leo rising, right? Now, I'm a Leo, straight up, when I'm not acting or reacting. Now, when I'm acting, like my actions, the stuff y'all see me do, the stuff y'all see me, the stuff y'all see I'm into, the things I do, my actions, like instead of the movements, like say y'all watching one of my music videos, instead of looking at my body movements and stuff I be doing, that's Leo, the places I'm at, or like how I'm reacting to the environment I'm at, my actions and the way I act and the fast pace I may be moving and stuff, that's Aries. My actions and the way I act is Aries. See, but when I start to react, that's like the stuff y'all hear me talk about in my songs, or the stuff y'all hear me talk about right now, and how I see things and how I look at it and how I feel about things. That's like, in order to feel about something, you have to react to something. In order for me to feel a certain way about you, you have to show me something to react to. That's your moon. And then, see, that's the moon. That's my moon. So when I start in my videos, y'all hear what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see the stuff I may be in front of. Not how I'm interacting with it, but the actual thing I'm in front of. Y'all might see me in front of a church or something like that, or a cross, or angels and stuff like that. That's my reactions. That's Sagittarius. So when I'm not acting or y'all not seeing my actions, y'all not seeing Aries. When I'm not reacting to shit and not telling y'all how I feel about something or how I see something, y'all not seeing my moon. If you just sitting here looking at my characteristics and how I'm moving and everything and how I'm saying this shit, y'all only seeing the rising. See? But when we start to get into what I'm talking about and shit like that, y'all getting into Sagittarius, my moon. And when y'all see my actions of like things I'm acting on, like the little shit y'all might see. Like y'all might see me looking around. Y'all might see me look at some over here. I'm actually smoking right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm moving fast paced. That's my actions in it all. The way I'm acting. That's Aries. But overall, that's how you break it all down. So we're going to get into planets in the first house. Now, if you got an empty first house, now look, I don't want anybody to get scared like, oh, I have an empty house or whatever. When you have an empty house, that just means it's not an issue in your life. You can have a stellium in a house where a bunch of planets in one house. That means that's your main focus. That whether it's good or bad. The planets that don't got houses, planets in them, that's just a house that is not your main focus. So, for an example, I have an empty first house. So I'm gonna use me for an example, y'all. So my personality is not an issue in this lifetime. Now, depending on what planet would have been in my first house, that would have been what kind of issue I have with my personality. And depending on the sign that's in the first house, that's how your first house actually going to play out. So using me as an example, my first house is Leo. So my ascendant and my rising, that's how it's going to play out. In a fiery, fixed way. Like how I just explained to y'all the rising. Now, when we talk about it as it just being your first house, that's your personal issues. So a lot of personal issues I got going on in my life is in the Leo archetype. So I have a lot of my personal issues. I deal with a lot of personal issues of my appearance. I do a lot of I just got my hair. Somebody just redid my hair. You know what I'm saying? I got that's a personal issue. I have My appearance, the way I dress, I like to play the character. I'm the pilot man, so I'm not just going to call myself the pilot man. I'm going to be the pilot man. I'm going to be the flight boss. That's a personal thing I do, a personal issue. A lot of my personal people I bring into my life is they either going to be created as the audience or created as a person on stage with me. A lot of personal issues I have when it comes towards to dealing with like personal insecurities or personal matters I have to take care of, like bills and stuff. I do it in a Leo way. I might not be as practical as an earth sign when it comes to handling if I gotta pay a fine or not. I might not be as practical as an earth sign. I might not be as intellectual as an air sign when it comes to communicating things I'm personally into. If I have a personal issue with someone, I'm not bent on communicating with that person to come to some realization like an air sign. I'm not like a water sign where I can emotionally connect with someone's personality or personally connect or have a certain feeling and emotion behind a person's character. Or when it comes to my personal issues, I don't have a emotional connection to things I have to handle or my insecurities or nothing. I'm fire. So when it comes to my personal issues and when it comes to personalities and other people's dealing with, sometimes I may like to detach. Sometimes I like to not see things from other people's personal point of view. Keyword, personal point of view. You know what I'm saying? That's how things play out for me. Now I have an empty first house. So if you have an empty first house, this how you have to look at it. Even with the planets, what signs of the houses, you look at it like this too. But for the empty houses, this is how you look at where your personality is going to shine, where your person, or you're going to deal with most of your personal issues. Now, for empty houses, you have to see where the ruler of that sign is at. So the ruler of my first house is the sun, because the sun rules Leo. So the ruler of my first house is in the 9th house. So that means my personality and my character shines the brightest in the 9th house realm of reality. Now we know houses is life situations. The first house is your personal issues. Second house is your values in which you have to offer. The third house is familiar places and faces and communication. The fourth house is domestic issues and how you gain control and stability with your emotional stability in the privacy of the own home or where you feel most comfortable at. And dealing with domestic issues. The fifth house is creativity, entertainment, children, and things and self-expression. The 6th house is day-to-day routine and what you do on a day-to-day basis, work and health. The 7th house is the relationship house, how you relate to everything, not just people, but people, things, entertainment, shows, movies, with how you relate to everything. 7th house. 8th house, desires and deep transformation. 9th house, higher learning, wisdom, and long distance travel. 11th house, unfamiliar places and faces and how you conduct yourself in the public arena. 12th house, the subconscious house. So these are life situations. So for an example, my first house is in the 9th house. So that means my first house lord, which is the sun, because it is Leo in the first house, is ruled by the 9th house. So what I would do is, I would take my personalities and my characteristics and place it in the 9th house realm of reality. So that's where my personality is going to come across the best. That's where my characteristics is going to come across the best, or going to come across the worst, or going to come across in a way I don't know how. But the realm of reality of my personality coming out is going to be the realm of reality of higher learning, long distance travel, life experiences, teaching, learning. You know what I'm saying? And understanding things from a broad perspective as a whole. So that's where my personality and my characteristics shine the brightest. So I'm always going to be looked at as that's going to be my personality. So that's how you look at an empty house. Now, let's get into the planets in the first house. Now, let's start with the sun. Sun in the first house. Now, people who got the sun in the first house, we know the sun is your actions and the way you act. But when we talk about the sun itself, the sun brings light. It brings attention to. It brings energy. It brings vitality. It brings visual aspects for people can see, for better or worse. So, for an example, when you have the sun here, whatever house the sun is in is going to illuminate that. It's going to enlighten that house. So with sun in the first house, people, first thing people may see from you is your personality. That may be the first thing. And then when you if your sun sign with a lot of actions and your actions and the way you act, that may be the first thing people see from you before your personality. Like a lot of times your rising be the first thing people see as your personality, but people with the sun in the first house can have a blend. It could be a match. People may characterize your personality to your actions and the way you act. Now, when we talk about the sun, people are going to see a lot of your personal issues too. So it's going to be hard to keep a lot of things that you personally do to yourself, because you're going to feel like it's a situation when it comes to that when your personal things you want to keep to yourself and you don't want nobody else to know about. That's like say a personal insecurity or something you try to hide. This in the 8th house plays like this. The first house and the 8th house. But with the first house is more your personal issues. 8th house is more your secrets. But say you just have an insecurity about something. That's not really a secret. That's just something you are aware about yourself. So say you have a eyebrow that's bigger than the other, or you have like there's a problem like that. People are going to see that. Or you have a personality issue or something like that. People are going to see that firsthand because you have the sun in the first house. Now with the sun in the first house, also a lot of your personality qualities is going to shine also. So if you're going for a job interview or something like that, your personality is going to shine. So if you have a fucked up personality due to your other planetary alignments, that's going to be seen. If you have a nice or good personality to come across to the manager, like you want to get hired, that's going to be the first thing seen. So that's sun in the first house. Now, moon in the first house. Now we know moon is your reactions, the way you feel. Your emotional stability. How you react, your reactions basically. That's what that boils down under. Feelings and all that, emotions is up under that reaction line. So we know that when the moon comes in the first house, a lot of times this going to cause you react to a lot of other people's personalities off the top. You know that saying of you let it go in one ear and out the other, or you just bypass. You can't do that with this placement with moon in the first house. People's personalities, if they got fucked up personalities around you, it's gonna irk you. If they got good personalities around you, you're gonna want to support them. You like to support people who support you, or people who got good personalities, or dealing with personal issues in their life or whatever like that. You like to understand it. You react to those things that's going on in their life. So you like to understand it, maybe apply yourself with them, assist them, or help them out with some type of knowledge, or how you feel about it, or how you react to their situation or something like that. Then moon in the first house also, you feel deeply about yourself. You think deeply, yourself is always on your mind. This is a little bit more selfish planet, a selfish placement than the sun in the first house. The moon in the first house can be selfish because you always think about yourself. You always feel about yourself. You always think somebody should do things for you. But this is also a good manifestation planet too, because you get to manifest everything that you're personally into. So if you're personally into a lot of negative shit, you're going to manifest that in your personal issues in your life. If you are a person who always into good positive things, you're going to always feel the emotion of positivity and prosperity and stuff, then you're going to manifest that into your personal issues in your life. Now, personal issues, the word issue in the English language have a negative annotation around it. When I say issues, anything you dealing with, positive or negative, it's an issue, like out of a magazine in your life. You know what I'm saying? Now, when we get to motherfucking alright, also the moon in the first house. You know, this makes you emotionally connected to your own awareness of what you're into in your personal life and your personality and things like of that nature. You know. Alright, now let's go to Mercury. Mercury in the first house. Now this Mercury in the first house, we know Mercury is how you communicate and how you think. So when you have this in the first house, this makes you personally a communicative person. This makes you personally, you like to look at the details in your life, the details of your personal issues in your life. You like to talk, you like to communicate with other people who have communicating type personalities, people who are open. Sometimes you don't even know why you like to talk, you just like to talk. You get around people and you just start conversations. Sometimes you feel uncomfortable when you're around a bunch of quietness. You start to feel awkward when you're around quietness, because you think a lot of people who are quiet around you, you dictate that's how their personality is, and you don't want to attach yourself to these kind of people because you feel like you can't trust them, or you can't socialize with them, or you can't understand them in the way you want to. Now, when we talk about when we talk about also Mercury being in the first house, Mercury is the nerve system also. So this makes a person who, that you may have good teeth with Mercury in the first house. You may be good at analyzing. You may be very smart and very aware of other people's personality and characteristics to the point that you could break a person down before that person even really present themselves to you. Now, let's go to Mars. Mars in the first house. Now we know Mars is the higher octave of desires, willpower, and not transformation, but that's deep when it comes to transformation. On a lighter note, and this a passionate note, it becomes passion and for your desires and your intentions and things you intend to do in your willpower. We know that's Mars. So when Mars in the first house, this makes your personality maybe aggressive, passionate. This makes a lot of your personal issues. You may deal with a lot of aggressive people in your personal issues in life. You may deal with a lot of passionate people. You may be passionate. You may be the spirit for others to obtain, to get with their goals. Also, you attend to do a lot of things in this lifetime when Mars comes into your first house. So your intentions is heightened. Your intentions is always personal. So a lot of times you may intentionally take things personally when someone is not being personal, or someone being sarcastic, or trying to give an analogy. You may take a lot of things personal that's not personal here with Mars in the first house, because the intention level of Mars, because Mars is your intentions, things you intend to do. So so Mars carry out the obligations and duties of the sun. So when the sun is your actions and the way you act and the things you into, Mars is how it's being carried out, how you intend to do it. You know what I'm saying? For an example, my sun is in Aries, right? So I'm cardinal fire. So my actions, the way I act is, we know fire is the seer and the filler and the seer. Water is the filler and the emotions. Fire is the seer and is the filler and the seer. And vice versa for the earth and the air. Earth is the thinking and the practicality, and air is the thinking and the logical aspect of it. So for an example, my sun is in Aries. So the way I act like cardinal fire. We know cardinal initiate and create newness, and we know fire is the filler and the seer. So I create new ways of seeing things, new ways of feeling about things, new visions, and it burns through reality. So that's my actions. So that's the way I act, and that's my actions. Now Mars, and then it's even more impact for me. If you a sun sign Scorpio or a sun sign Aries, Mars is it's double important. But Mars is just already sequential by nature important to the sun. You know what I'm saying? So any sun sign is going to get, for an example, if your sun sign is Libra, that's Mars is away. So you carry out your actions like Libra, but Mars still carry out the obligations and duties of the sun. So if your Mars is in say Cancer, then Libra, your actions, the way you act, is to communicate, create new ways, and initiate communication and logical matters of how to think. Now, it's going to get carried out in a way of emotions and feelings, of creating new ways of emotions and feelings. Cardinal water, which is Cancer, right? But see, in this case, you also need to know where Venus at, because Venus rules Libra. So Libra also is going to get played out through wherever Venus is at. So you're going to act on a lot of things where Venus is at, and you do that with every sign, with every planet. So for me, it's just, and Scorpios, it's just automatically Mars. Now back to my example, cardinal fire is going to get played out. My Mars is in 29 degrees Capricorn, so it's going to get played out in an Aquarius Capricorn dust element. But for the most part, just for the sake of conversation, let's just say Capricorn is going to get played out in a very practical. My cardinal fire is going to get played out in cardinal earth. So all my visions and how I see things and create new ways of how to feel and see visions is going to get played out through creating new ways and initiating thinking and practicality. So I created a practical way of telling y'all how I see visions and how I see things and my way of feeling about things and how I see the world. So that's what my Sun in Aries and Mars in Capricorn is doing. But what I'm doing now, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have them planetary alignments. So boom, that's an example. So when you got Mars into the first house, This makes a person passionate with things that they're personally into, and their personality may come off of attention whores. Not attention, intention whores. Like every time you come around, people always feel like you intended to do something, or your attentions is elsewhere, and it can be for good or bad. Now, let's talk about Venus in the first house. Now, we know Venus is how you love, how you appreciate, how you relate to others, and how you value things. So, Venus in the first house, with Venus being in the first house, you're going to love and appreciate yourself. This also is a selfish placement. Mars isn't as selfish as here, as the Sun isn't as selfish. You see how the malefics and the neutral planets is not, it all depends on placements. Some is not selfish here, some is selfish here. The reason why the Sun is not selfish here, the Sun is exalted in the first house. The reason the Moon is selfish here, because it has its own relationship to the first house. Every planet and everything has its own relationship to its own way. So with Venus being here, you're going to love and appreciate yourself. You're going to value yourself. Now, you're not going to appreciate and value others with personalities that try to dictate your personal issues. You're only going to love people who like harmonizing. You're not going to like people who are always opposing, always dictating, always criticizing. You're going to like people who like to be in harmony, who like to have fun, who like to get along, who like fairness, who like balance. So Venus in the first house too also may make you your appearance beautiful. Whether you're ugly or you look good, your appearance or the way you look to people, you can be the ugliest person in the world, but the way you look to people is not going to be that way with Venus in the first house. And it's going to appear out through your personality or your appearance, how you dress or how you look. Also, Venus give blessings and prosperity to your personal issues. So every time you got a lot of personal issues that may hurt you, you're going to have some type of support system around you to help you get through it. Now, let's talk about Jupiter being in the first house. Now, we know Jupiter is how you learn, how you gain wisdom, how you gain knowledge in this lifetime, space, and continuum right now. So, you know, with Jupiter in the first house, this makes you personally smart. This makes you a person who look like the character you carry is like almost motherfucking it's like you carry like a upbeat, optimistic, wisdom having type of personality. Like you carry energy like you've been through a lot of experience. Even if you're the dumbest person in the world, people are gonna look at that and learn from it, because that's the energy you carry. You know what I'm saying? Now, Jupiter also expands, so it's gonna expand your personality. So you may have a very gravitating towards personality that everybody just suck to. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your personality can spread on a wide range of people. So this can make you a philosopher personally. This will make you a person that people at ease just listen to you because of your personality, your character. And you know, Jupiter also brings prosperity. So a lot of personal ventures that you're into is going to be able to be taken care of with Jupiter here, because Jupiter is going to expand your knowledge and your wisdom about a lot of personal issues that you're going through, and your personality also is going to be expanded, like I said before. Now, when you got Saturn in the first house. So Saturn is restrictions, limits, and boundaries, but it's also how one builds structure in their life. So Saturn in the first house. Now, you're going to put a lot of boundaries and restrictions and limits on your own personality. With Saturn in the first house, this makes a person very conservative, because you're always over reserved, always thinking of how you're coming across. So you may not express yourself how others express yourself. You may come across quiet. You may come across analyzing. You may be that person